Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Beth Burke, and welcome to Becoming More Than Your Title. This is a series I do because I believe professional identity is who we think we are in the workforce, whatever it is we do. But this notion of what do you do is a really hard question to answer in the modern era because people do so many things. And I love researching this topic because the more I look at people and how they are more than their job titles, I realize it's not enough to just talk about being an expert or a generalist. Those terms have been pigeonholing workers for way too long. And that's why I've been on this journey to share stories like the one I'm about to share with you today with my guest, and share these stories about how people are expanding and working between multiple professional identities to be hybrid professionals. Now, a hybrid professional is a new category of professional identity. It's where people actually blend and combine different areas of interest and expertise and identity into something altogether new, and it defies labels and stereotypes of what we know someone to be. In my case, I call myself a creative disruptor. That's my hybrid title. And I found that because I looked at myself as being an artist and an educator and a researcher and a designer. I had these four different hats I wore and didn't know how to explain it. But by looking at a Venn diagram of how those identities fit together, I realized my identities were influencing and inspiring and connecting in ways. And that's when I saw I'm a creative disruptor. So my guest today, I'm extremely pleased to have. I've been waiting a long time for this one. Her name is Susan Brennan. And she actually wrote a quote that's on the back of my book, and I'll read it for you. She said, "Burke has found the magic intersection of what the world needs from professionals in the workplace and each individual's unique mix of potential. It's time to reclaim our power over one-dimensional job titles and celebrate the hybridity of our talents in our professional narratives." Susan said this because she herself is a hybrid professional. So we're going to dive into that. But she's currently the assistant dean at MIT in the Sloan's Business School. And she's been in the field of career services and career development, noticing changes and trends over time and moving in different spaces in higher ed to see what do students need and what do career professionals need to provide to them. So she's an influencer in the field and just a very savvy, astute person. And I'm so excited to hear from her. So I'm going to bring Susan up and we'll get started. Hi, Susan. How are you doing?
Hi, Sarah Beth. Wow, that was quite an intro. I loved that countdown. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is just a great moment because you have been someone, obviously, I've been inspired by. I've been watching your work. I cannot wait to go into it. But I do want to kick it off by asking you more about what do you do? So when you get that question, how do you answer that, Susan?
Well, now I say that I'm a hybrid professional. That's the kickoff. But yeah. I really talk about this idea of being a career catalyst and connector. So I've been in this work of career development for the last 20 years, and it's all been at the intersection of business and education, and really about using my talents as a strategist, as a relationship builder, and as a connector to spark change, not only in students' lives and careers, but also on my team and the work that we do, and ultimately on the profession of career development.
I love that. It sounds like you have your hybrid title, this career catalyst. Definitely gives me a better sense of you and how you're fusing all of your synergy of being this forecaster, sort of noticer, as well as implementing and affecting change for all these people trying to find jobs and build careers. It's exciting work. How did you end up in this, Susan? What were some of the factors that got you where you are?
Well, I'll start with, we like to say that resumes sometimes read better than they lived. But the overall theme for me has been around this idea of connecting business and education and mission orientation. I never really understood that term hybrid, but I did always think about these intersections and just kind of was drawn to these different themes, whether it was my own studying of English and history at the University of Pennsylvania, but that wasn't enough. I also studied at the Wharton School and minored in marketing. So it was always sort of thinking about these different themes and how they connect. And then when I thought about my own career, it was really, how can I be a connector and a catalyst without necessarily having those terms, and then thinking about where could I also have an impact and have mission. So that's kind of been the thread of my career. I started working at the Children's Museum in Boston, and then made my way to New York, where I worked at Columbia University. I focused on development of a different type now, with a focus on career development. But at the time, it was really development from a philanthropy perspective. So it was always really about sort of developing others, developing organizations, using my kind of influencing and strategy orientation to make a difference in organizations. And so that sort of fusion has been a theme. And so even when I came back to go to graduate school, it was sort of, how do I think about the things that I'm really interested in that don't necessarily connect? So I went to Harvard and got a master's in education, but I also went to Babson and got an MBA. And even, with that kind of fusion, most people do dual degrees at one place, but it was like, well, no, these different places have different kind of reasons and rationales for why they would make sense for my journey. And so I'll pull my own kind of recipe together. And so, all of that sort of being a journey into human capital consulting at the Hay Group, where I was able to work with organizations and really helping organizations help their individual talent reach their full potential, that wove me into this work of career development. First at Arthur D. Little, the world's first consulting firm, working with global professionals, then at Bentley University, where I was for 15 years, and then finding my way to MIT Sloan about 3 years ago.
My goodness, there were so many kernels I want to come back to in that. First of all, this journey of studying English and then marketing and then a degree in education and going to Babson for business. I mean, right away we see the multifaceted pathways. But you've mentioned the word themes a few times, as well as fusion. Can you unpack that a little bit more? How were you sensing, even in the earlier stages of your career, that fusion was happening?
Well, I probably didn't have that term at the time, but one of the influencers in my journey was the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Bentley. And he really talked about sort of the Bentley educational model being one of fusion of business and liberal arts, and really thinking about teaching of liberal arts in a way that is complementary and contextual to business. So that really resonated with me. And, I was able to see how a curriculum that is designed with fusion in mind not only benefits students and their learning, but also thinking about it from the work that I do, that employers really valued the fusion because graduates were able to then have an immediate impact, in the short term with very sort of tangible skills and a mindset that was always very connected to the bigger world. So I think that fusion principle was a big part of kind of the experience that I had at Bentley, and just the mindset that I've always had, in the sense that it is, about the complementary and the contextual.
Oof. I think you've got a new definition for me right there. The complementary and contextual, and it's part of the fusion. And I agree with you. It's fascinating, right? Like, we don't see the word or the idea of fusion early on, even though that was happening. And then you had that revelation later. One thing I'm actually curious about, because I get this question, so I wonder what you think about it, is this notion of transferability. Because I've heard many career professionals talk about, what are your transferable skills, right? That's sort of the vernacular when people are trying to change jobs or industries. And yet hybrids are about intersectionality. So I'm wondering if you think transferability and hybridity are similar or different, or how does your mind wrap around that idea?
Well, I think they connect, really. I mean, I do think that hybridity is a transferable skill, and this idea of being I think in part the idea that that hybridity or fusion or intersectionality. I mean, it's all about this idea of like being non-binary. I mean, I think that this mindset of it being either or versus and. So I do think that what we see, and at MIT Sloan, we have on our wall 24 pieces of art that symbolize our culture, and one of the pieces of art says binary is the enemy of creativity. And I think this idea that we really are sending people into the world embracing kind of that and thinking about ways that is a relevant and transferable skill that we need to develop through innovation.
I love this answer for so many reasons. I've never heard of culture and values being put up as artwork on walls to kind of embody it visually. I'm going to definitely think about that more. And then, I mean, MIT as a place, as an institution, is probably one of the most hybrid because the people there have multiple PhDs or MBAs or just degrees where they are truly experts and they've studied things deeply and they're interconnecting them. I think I even heard the term anti-disciplinary because I was at MIT. Like, you guys don't even believe in disciplines to some level. Is that true?
Well, I think that it's probably what drew me to MIT. I think that when I was at Bentley, one of the concepts that really spoke to me, in addition to fusion, was the idea of, helping students to think about feasibility, viability, desirability from a design perspective that intersects, really design and business and engineering, and thinking about different schools that we could partner with that would bring those different perspectives. And so being at a place like MIT, I mean, it's just in the DNA, this sort of idea of human-centered design that connects engineering and business and design in a meaningful way. And, when you think about the careers of our graduates who go into fields like product management, let's say, that brings all of those themes together, and it just is sort of in the DNA of the kind of people who are attracted and what they study, and I guess the impact on the world. So it is truly sort of the embodiment of hybridity.
Yeah. And I've even referenced Neri Oxman, who's a professor there at MIT. She's in my book because she talks about, I don't know what to call myself. I do art and design and science and engineering. Who am I? And she's just like, I just do what I do. And I love that you just mentioned that framework. I've used it a number of times. It's a Venn diagram for people that aren't familiar of viability, desirability, and feasibility. And then when you find the intersection of those three things to meet a business need, you're actually solving the greater problem. Like, that's the direction to go when you meet the three criteria. So it could be based on the engineering, design, business backgrounds, or just how people are looking at what they're creating. I think it's a really powerful tool. And I love that we keep coming back to Venn diagrams in this conversation. Susan, I want to go back to a comment because when I initially found you, it was online. I was searching for hybridity in articles and publications. And one of the places I stumbled was Glassdoor, and it had an article in 2016, and it had a quote from you in that article where you said, "This is the year of hybrid jobs." And I was like, I have to talk to this person. She's the first person I saw cited with this. Who is she? Where do I get a hold of her? And that led me on the journey to you. So what was going through your mind back in 2016 around this notion of hybrid jobs?
I was a fortune teller. No.
I
know. No, at that time, and I have to give full credit to Matt Seligman from Burning Glass, who had done research on hybrid jobs, hybrid skills, and sort of changing the narrative around work, really looking at it from, looking at millions of job descriptions and sort of what are the kind of bundle of skills that make up a given job. And being in this field of career development and really thinking about the intersection between career and education, if the bundle of skills in a given job is changing, and what we're seeing is sort of this need for a more hybrid skills, I think, he's used the phrase sort of skills, pop up in kind of the darndest ways, and maybe not G-rated, but, the idea is sort of like jobs are having sex, essentially, like the chromosomes are coming together in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So, finding that there is a premium for different skills that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So, like at Bentley, our students who studied information design and corporate communication, if they actually, had particular skills in data or analysis that you might not have necessarily expected, that there'd be a premium for that. And so that sort of fusion of an education, which was truly hybrid, and students who were studying kind of business and liberal arts were finding that there was a premium because the world was really shifting the way that, that work was coming together. And so that was really powerful for me. I mean, you've helped me connect all the dots around hybridity, that it was probably like, of course that spoke to me because I am a hybrid and my whole life and career have been hybrid. But, the more that I've followed kind of the data and how it's really shifted, especially now in this economy where, Burning Glass is looking at sort of then what are those kind of lifeboat jobs that seekers can find that will leverage what the world needs, and how much that can be sort of regional based upon particular markets. But it's been, a real sort of labor market driven approach to thinking about sort of the hybridity, not only of our identity, but of work, and how education needs to respond if we're going to prepare graduates.
Oh, yeah. I really want to keep going with this. So 2016, you started to see these signals, you were putting language around it. How did people respond to your thinking back then? Did you show this to students and talk to them about these hybrid jobs? And what was the response then? And then what are you seeing today? I'm just compare and contrast there.
So at the time, I think that as an institution, Bentley was really kind of ahead of its time and embracing this idea of, you spend half of your courses studying business, but the other half are in liberal arts, and you can really combine them in a way that's meaningful and aligned with, your areas of interest and impact. And so it was very much kind of a part of the culture and differentiator. And I do think that that maybe students didn't necessarily appreciate it at the time, but I think they appreciated it when they saw that, this sort of intersection of like the ikigai idea of, it's like not only finding what you love, but what the world needs, and recognizing that the world really does need these kind of hybrid skills. And so, I've been really drawn to the concept and particular research around hybridity for students at MIT, in the sense that now there's kind of further research around sort of STEM skills and the shelf life of technical skills, and that really it's these human skills that are most enduring. So, having graduates who are very technically capable with STEM degrees, and certainly that is, is the kind of DNA of a place like MIT and Sloan. But our graduates also really develop the human skills of empathy and creativity and communication and connection. And that's the combination, again, of what I think employers value.
Yeah, it is the balance. When I look at reports like Burning Glass has the big one on hybrid jobs, and they talk about the fusion of binaries. So someone who's technical with non-technical, or the right brain, left brain, or the soft skills and the hard skills. So sort of the spectrum of things that used to be opposites have to be part of the same human or the same job in order to be highly hybridized or more differentiated or more unique and rare and of higher value. So I think you're starting to hint towards that of how do we develop that in students and embrace it while they're still in school in order to be ready for a workplace that is getting more hybrid in all the ways, from the way we work to the location to the people that do the job. So it's kind of getting a little nuts, but I think the context and breaking it down so people can digest it is really important from a younger age.
Well, I, as a parent, have embraced that as well, and thinking about like my own kids who both wanted to study liberal arts, and fully supported my own education being liberal arts, but also what are those either technical skills or connected digital currencies that will make, have a premium and get you off my payroll. So, so there's a bit of that as well.
Yeah, it is finding that back to the ikigai, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, what you love to do. And there's so many ways to go about this. So when you are now looking at, the research you read and the information I have in my book, and you have this team of career professionals that you supervise and inspire and empower. So on one hand, you have your team, and the other hand, you're talking to the field. What are you noticing? What are some of the ways that you're encouraging and guiding both the professionals and your team in this work?
Well, that is a powerful question, because I think that, I've had some aha moments just even in this last year as our work has changed, as we've become, much more focused on inclusion and belonging and sort of recognizing our privilege, and how do we think about, from an equity lens, the work that we do, and kind of building a team that continues to grow and thrive at a time that we're serving such a diverse portfolio of programs and students and, perspectives. And so, one of the ahas that I had in reading your book is this idea that in many ways that the work of career development has just become so much more hybridized. I think that the kinds of people, certainly that we're hiring, that I'm kind of drawn to, are people who really look at the work and care passionately about students, and certainly are, expert coaches with a lens toward career development, but also come with such interesting and diverse experiences from industry and from the world that I don't think you ever would have expected. And so, the days of sort of being a strong career advisor, I think, have really shifted to now you also are kind of a data analyst and a storyteller and, a design thinker with empathy. And so all of these other things, it makes the work so much more interesting and complex. And by the way, there's very few kind of areas within higher education or the world of work that require you to be kind of connecting with students, with employers, with faculty, with alumni. And so you really do have this lens that you are truly a career catalyst and connector. Absolutely. So my hope is not only sort of in building this world-class team, but then, the impact that it can have on the broader profession.
Oh, that's powerful. You're right. I see what you're doing is helping your own staff understand their hybridity. Like, you have to understand it as your own internal self first. And I've seen that quoted from some other people, like your self-actualized identity that's internally validated has to be realized. And it can be separate from what the world tells you and sees you as who you are. And there's sort of that moment of what you're doing with your staff. And then what I've noticed in my work, which I didn't expect to be doing, is the Venn diagram of the field of looking at hybrid professional identity is one part identity research, one part personal branding, and one part career development. That's sort of the three different ways I've been synthesizing across fields to talk about, well, what does it mean when you're a hybrid professional? Well, it's talking about your brand and who you are differently. It's looking at yourself, and it's fitting it back into the career world. And those pieces together, I had never sort of appreciated were so connected. I sort of saw, oh, personal brand is something I'll deal with later. I'm going to work on my career first. Oh, identity, I have to do self-reflection. Wait a second. And now I'm like, they all just are so, there's so much synergy. So I don't know if that helps you think about, I was hearing you tease that out when you were mentioning your part.
I love that idea. And I do think that, your audience might wonder sort of, well, what do people at MIT really need from career development? And, not to just justify our existence, but you think about it, like, this is really hard work, even for the brightest minds to, have that confidence and connect the dots and tell that story and maybe, help, others see you the way you might not even see yourself. So, I think that is really challenging for people as they think about sort of, the idea of understanding self and understanding the market and then finding alignment and telling that story.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what tools have you tried, or what do you find benefits people when you work directly with students or when you're working with your staff, especially these students at MIT that are so intensely knowledgeable in a variety of areas? What are the ways that you're finding serve them best? Like, do you have any strategies that you can share with us?
Well, I am passionate about the Clifton Strengths from Gallup, just because it really is about hybridity. I mean, it is this idea of understanding your natural talents and then sort of connecting the dots so that, the number of people who have the same top 5 talents as you in the world is 1 in 33 million. So this kind of idea of being that kind of customized, that even, as we've talked about all these different sort of points of intersection, that it's, I know that I'm talented in strategy and also in relationship and in ideation, and then in making ideas happen. So I think helping students to sort of connect the dots of their different talents, and somebody who might be strategic, but depending upon their other kind of natural talents, it tells a very different story. Yeah. So I find that kind of is really sort of a hybridized way of understanding kind of your full potential, and then how to tell your story in a way that is very unique and personalized. And, and I do think our students are so unique, but 1 in 33 million is pretty good odds that they have a different story to tell.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned the word storytelling. I found that to be one of the key things I share with people in terms of what they need to work on, because like the first step, I think, which StrengthsFinders helps, is identify what are your key parts, whether it's a skill or your key professional identity, and then how do those parts connect? What are the relationships, which is the storytelling? And a lot of people don't know that part, and that's where they get fuzzy. And I find they tell stories that are very generic or basic, or just don't have enough of that, those novel touches that make them stand out. So I love that you were just reinforcing they need to figure out their unique storytelling.
Absolutely.
So Susan, what are you forecasting for the future? Any thoughts, any things you're seeing in the workforce, or other details you want to reveal to us?
Well, I think that the next chapter is going to be sort of, how do we reinvent work? So, this idea, we've been very careful not to say this is about returning to work, because we've been working quite hard. But, what does it mean to return to campus? What does it mean to kind of reinvent and create new ways of gathering, as teams, connecting with students, being in community, and what will that look like? And so, the unique perch that I think we have, and not only, being at MIT, but then connecting, with the world's leading employers, and sort of how are we going to be connecting with them in different ways? And what do we learn over this last year about some of the ways of connecting students and employers that was really powerful, using some of the virtual tools, and, being able to provide even more equity and access for students who are studying around the globe. So how do we kind of hold on to the best? And then how do we think about what will that look like in the future? And so, I always sort of come back to the privilege and responsibility that we have, being MIT's School of Management, that not only thinking about that for our team, but then sort of what will be kind of the leading practices and trends for inventing what it means to return to each other.
Oh, those are beautiful sentiments. It's not return to work, it's reinventing work. And then how do we return to each other? I love how you frame that. And then MIT, take your best practice and mesh them together for the future of what we're supposed to be doing. I can't wait to see what that is, and case studies and reports that come out. Are you feeling pressure in terms of being an assistant dean over career development on what your role and responsibility is in this new era? Like, how do you prepare students in this day and age for the future of work?
Well, there's always pressure, but I guess coming back to sort of that identity piece of hybridity is like, I have found my happy intersection of all the things that I love and I think I'm good at, and, that the world needs. So I guess I would say that, coming back to a strengths approach, it does give me kind of ease and energy, because it's what I love doing. And I feel like it really is a gift to be able to do it at MIT.
Well, they're so lucky to have someone like you in this role who can understand the notion of fusion and intersections, and connecting all these dots is sort of the secret sauce. And I don't know often enough when I meet career professionals that they have sort of that natural intuition or ability to articulate it. So I love that that's where you're coming from as a leader, and you can spread this across everyone you're working with. I think that's a pretty special thing.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to spread the message and to learn from you and from each other.
Yeah, of course. And just a fun side note for our audience. one of your friends is
Mhm.
Marcy Albor, and
Mhm.
she wrote the book about multiple careers and coined the term slash career a number of years ago, which was really influential to me. And you were able to connect me with Marcy. So I think this is just a bigger body of work that people have been sensing and trying to write about and capture. And I'm just trying to take it to another level of like the integration, the intersection, which is hybridity. And I'm so pleased I got to meet you through my research, and then you connected me with Marcy too. So thanks for all of that.
Group hug.
Group hug, I know. I have to come and meet you all in person someday. I'm still waiting for that.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any final words before we wrap up today? First of all, if people want to find you, what's the best way for them to connect?
Please find me on LinkedIn. This is my debut on LinkedIn Live. It's been so much fun, but I would love to connect on LinkedIn. And if you are hiring, I have a few amazing students I might connect you with too. So please connect with me on LinkedIn, and it has been truly a pleasure.
Oh, that's perfect, Susan. Yeah, definitely find Susan. She is an amazing resource. And then if you want to know more about hybrid professionals, come to morethanmytitle.com. They've also published the book, which you see behind me, and follow me at More Than My Title. Susan, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you for being a guest, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.